All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Jade Kessel. I am with Two Track Malting, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about barley farming today. I grew up on a farm. I went to NDSU and got a degree back in 2016. I moved back to the farm after I got my degree in agricultural economics, and I came home to manage our seed business. Our farm name is Arrow K Farms. We are in the southwestern part of North Dakota. My dad began farming in 1980, so that would make me second generation. Barley's been a part of our farm for almost 40 years. We're completely family operated. That's me and my brothers there. We produce barley, wheat, peas, corn, and soybeans. We're mainly a seed production farm, so we do things a little bit different than a regular farm. Some of our management practices differ from other non-seed farms. We're also inspected by the state and held to a higher cleanliness standard. We are also a dryland farm. A little bit about Two Track. They were founded in 2015. They began producing malt in 2016. Our malting facility is actually by Bismarck in the town Lincoln. We grow all of our grain that we malt in Goodrich and Belfield, and then everything gets brought to our plant by Bismarck there. We recently did an expansion from 5 tons, and now we're around 10 to 15 tons per batch. In 2018, Arrow K actually partnered with Two Track and became a part of that business. So we're basically completely vertically integrated, growing our own grain and then malting it ourselves. So what are we doing to differentiate ourselves? Basically, our number one priority is to provide a quality product. With that, we're also able to trace all of our malt back to the field that it was grown in. And then we're also working with some different varieties that are very specific to the craft industry that nobody else has. So I just wanted to go through some of the things that go into making a quality barley product with you guys. We follow a pretty strict crop rotation. We're going to go from a corn to some kind of legume, either soybeans or peas, and then go into a cereal after that, either wheat or barley. We're going to get some nitrogen credits from those legumes. We've also seen a synergism from this rotation and seen some quality improvements and also improvements in our yield. Every year, we're going to start out with some soil tests. We're going to take soil samples the fall before and see what's left in that soil for nutrients. And then we can make decisions on how we're going to fertilize that crop so that it gets everything that it needs. We're going to start off by treating all of our barley, and we're going to basically coat that seed with a fungicide, and it's going to protect against seed and soil-borne diseases. Our fertilizer is going to go down with the seed. We believe because of our crop rotation, we're able to reduce some of our nitrogen requirements. We're putting down about 0.8 of a pound of nitrogen per bushel of our yield goal. And then some of the other things that we're going to look at before we're seeding or during seeding is we're going to keep an eye on depth. We're seeding barley at about 1 inch to 1.25 inches deep. We're going to look at our ground temperature and also our timing. This week, we're actually probably looking at putting some of our barley in later in the week. Here's a few pictures in season. We are going to do several applications in season of a fungicide. This is going to help keep the plant healthy and also going to do some kind of foliar feed. We're also in a semi-arid climate, so weed control is going to be pretty important. So we want to conserve as much water as we can. By keeping the weeds down and going ahead and putting some fungicide applications, we're basically keeping that plant as healthy as we can. because we're keeping that plant really healthy, one of the things that we run into is that our straw might actually be green when the plant is physiologically mature, so that head of grain is ripe and dry and ready, but the straw might be green, but that's something that we can manage. Timing of harvest is really important. When it's ready to go, we push really hard to go get it off into the field, because once it's in a bin, then we know that it's safe there. If there's weather in the forecast, we might take it off earlier before it's completely dry. We don't want to get rain on it because we might have problems with staining or pre-harvest sprout. There's a lot of adjustments that are made in the field with the combines. We want to take off as much as we can and clean out as much chaff and straw and whatnot without skinning or breaking any of the kernels. You want to be really careful not to break off any endosperms, because that's going to affect your germ. So once we get everything off the field, we're going to put it into storage. We can take barley from 18 to 20%. We would prefer it to be under 14% moisture. We're able to use fans to dry down anything we have to bring in at a higher moisture. We can also cool the barley. What we do that not everybody does is we actually have a series of cables that run through our grain, and they monitor moisture and temperature. And then we're using a system that monitors the outside conditions, and we're able to automatically turn our fans on and off when conditions are ideal for cooling or drying. And this system's pretty much paid for itself in energy savings. Because we're able to keep such a close eye on our grain, we know that when we go to the bin to take it out, to take it to the malt plant, that it's going to be in condition and it's going to be in the state that it needs to be. Because we're a seed business, we also have a seed conditioner. So anything that is going to the malt plant has already been pre-cleaned. It's going to be cleaned to a seed spec or above. There's basically 3 different processes that it goes through in the cleaning mill. It'll go over a set of shaker screens that will plump it. And we're going to plump to 99.9% plump. It'll also shake off any chaff or any large pieces of straw. And then it also uses some air to blow out light kernels. There's an indent that's going to take out longs and brokens, and then it actually goes over a gravity table and sorts stuff off by density. So we're only going to keep all of the premium grain that's going to go to the malt plant. Some of the other things that we do, crop rotation, I kind of covered that. We're a minimum to no tillage. Our goal is basically to disturb the ground as little as possible. We also clean everything out. Anytime we switch between crops, we're going to go ahead and vacuum and sweep and clean everything out the best we can so that there's no cross-contamination between crops. And then we're also, we'll mow the edges of our fields and whatnot to help control ergot. Some of the other things that we're using to be efficient is auto steer and variable rate. All of our other inputs, in-season applications, and harvest data is also stored in a program called Climate. These are all things that we do to help us reduce our inputs and be efficient and try to make sound decisions to continue to be sustainable. Once the grain's been malted, we go through all of that. We bring the grain into the malt house. It goes through the malting process. When it gets labeled, we're actually going to put a QR code on that bag. So we're able to trace that bag back to the field that it was grown in. Something else that we're doing that's a little bit unique to Two Track is the varieties that we're using. We've gone ahead and we try to pick varieties that are going to work in our area. Our environment's pretty unique, even compared to the other part of the state. You know, we want a variety that's going to work in our area. So the two unique varieties that we're working with are Astro and Brewski. AKF Astro is a hard white spring wheat that we developed ourselves. It was bred specifically for malting. It's actually been used in some flour applications too, but it seems to have a very good flavor profile in addition to having some really good agronomic traits. So we've been very happy with that one. And then the other variety that we're really excited about using is Brewski. It's a 2-row barley that came from NDSU's breeding program, and it's the first barley variety that was made specifically for the craft market. We've been pretty happy with how it's performed on the farm and in the malt house, and we've heard some really good things back from our customers as well. Both of those are going to be something you can only find at Two Track. We've also worked with some other public varieties. And that's not going to work. So the journey to a good final product starts in the beginning, and in this case, it's from field to pint. Our mission is to tell our barley story and for our malt to become a part of your story. And we want to help tell our story together to the consumer. I work mostly on the barley side and the farm side, so if anybody has any questions pertaining to our malt, this is Jared, is our go-to guy on the malt side. That is his contact information. That is both of our websites for the farm and Two Track. And I know it says Greg at Two Track, but it's also I get those emails too.